Welcome back, everyone. For anyone who grew up in southwestern Minnesota in small towns like Heron Lake, Brewster, or Windham, there was a restaurant everyone remembers in the city of Worthington. Michael's Steakhouse was the place to eat. And there's one thing almost every single person ordered: the onion rings. Named the best in America, there they are right there, by the Washington Post. Although the restaurant closed, the rings lived on thanks to the guy who made them, Larry Lang. Now, a new documentary looks at one filmmaker's mission to make the onion rings world famous. Look at this.
Documentarian should be a fly on the wall.
Were you?
At first I was.
Larry Lang, he makes the world's greatest onion rings.
This was the first idea I had. I was gonna make a movie about these onion rings.
Larry said yes hesitantly when he first agreed to it. That's just not Larry's thing. He likes to be in the background.
He didn't really want to do the movie.
He needs people to tell him what's best for him. I formed a company. I invested in top-of-the-line cameras, accessories, drones.
I'm not sure why you want to go to Minnesota right now, but I heard it's all about onion rings. 3 years.
That's right. Why do you want to go to Minnesota in December? That's a clip from the documentary The Ringmaster. And joining us live via Zoom are the people behind the movie, filmmaker Zachary and directors Molly and Dave. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
No, thank you for being here. So I want everyone to see this, and you guys would admit this is a little multi-layered. The story is a little convoluted. So Zachary, I'm going to start with you because we're going to peel back the layers of this so people understand the story. You grew up visiting your grandparents in Worthington and eating these rings. That's how this started, right?
That's how it started. So back in 2015, I actually had just exited rehab. I had a gambling addiction. And shortly afterwards, my grandfather had passed away, Martin Kapp. He was a big philanthropic figure in the Twin Cities area. And all my life, he told me to follow my passion and become a filmmaker. And I decided to use the inheritance money that he left me and form a production company with my brothers. And I decided to assemble a team, and I wanted to tell a story about something that was very near and dear to my heart, and that was the onion rings that I grew up having in Worthington, Minnesota at Michael's Steakhouse. Everybody was, they were so beloved, and Larry and Linda Lang are so beloved. And I mean, anybody that has these onion rings will tell you there's really nothing quite like them.
Okay, but why? But what is it, Zachary? Because everyone watching has eaten their fair share of onion rings. We got the string variety, the full variety. Was it the breading? Was it the spices, the texture? What was it that made them so good?
It's the secret family batter. And, they really, that's their family heirloom. And, they're thin, they're not really uniform, they're all different shape onions. There's really nothing quite like them, to tell you the truth. But so what I was doing was I wanted to pay homage to this family, and I also wanted to pay homage to my grandfather, but I ultimately got lost I lost sight of the storytelling because I wanted to create a happy ending for Larry and his onion rings because I felt that he deserved more. And the crew that I assembled thought that what was happening behind the scenes, my attempts to make Larry and his onion rings world famous, was more compelling. So they kind of mutinied against me, and I can let Dave shine kind of light on that.
Yeah, Dave, is mutiny a fair word? Because it's
a strong word.
Yeah. Okay. So how about this, Dave? You stepped in because you noticed things changing. And was this an open secret, and what were you noticing?
Yeah, I mean, the crew were friends of mine that Zach had hired. I was in LA working on some animated television series, and they were calling me and saying that Zach, had a lot of passion, really wanted to tell the story of the Langs and these onion rings, but didn't really have a plan, didn't go in with a shot list. They didn't know what they were doing there. So they called me a few times, and eventually I told them, do what Zach wants, get all the footage that he's asking you, but also make sure you're shooting Zach always.
And Zach, you didn't know that, right? You didn't know that they were shooting you as well.
I didn't know this until later in the production, but it was always a labor of love for me, and it was very important that we honor this family and Larry Lang, who really is the hardest working man I've ever met in my life. And I mean, even though, I mean, there are some uncomfortable moments in this film, but I think there's a lot of heart too. This really, I mean, with all the ugliness and divisiveness in the world today, this really, in my opinion, is still a hometown movie with a lot of heart.
Well, speaking of hometown, okay, Molly, I want to bring you in into the puzzle of onion rings. You're a Minnesota native. How did you get involved?
So Dave and Zach and I were all freshmen the same year at Ithaca College, and we were friends a little bit then. And then I had a crush on Dave and sort of followed him on social media, and then found out he was getting divorced. And we were both living in LA, and I pounced when he was getting divorced. And he happened to be, when we first started dating, working on this onion ring movie with Zach, and I found out that. So when I found out it was about Minnesota onion rings, I thought, that's weird. Why does Zach know about Minnesota onion rings, where I'm from? And found out that Zach's dad and my mom were literal next door neighbors on Edgecombe Road in St. Paul.
Oh my goodness.
And they played together as kids, and my mom was best friends with his aunt.
Oh my goodness.
So it was totally bizarre. So I felt like it was just meant to be that I was going to be working on this movie, and that I was going to become best friends with Zach because of our, random Minnesota history. And then I got to know the subject matter because there were hundreds of hours of footage that Zach had shot with his crew that needed to be logged. So I first joined the team as a footage logger. And so I was watching the story unfold through the footage from 2 years before, and got really sucked in, found it really compelling, and then also found it really unfinished, and wondered how we could
land the plane.
Land the plane and think of the story in a way that was more of a narrative, and what was the narrative. And so then we got into really intense conversations and discussions and philosophical questions together about what story is this, and that was unfolding in real time, even as I was logging footage from years before.
Well, how did they land the plane? What happened to Larry? There's so many more questions, but Molly, before we go to break, I have to say my favorite line of this entire week is you. I found out he's getting a divorce and I pounced. That is the line of the week. I'm just saying. Now, Zachary, Molly, and David are sticking around after the break. Like I said, glam rockers, Kiss, factor into this story, and find out how Larry is doing today. More with the Ring Masters when we come back. Stay with us, everyone. He's getting a divorce.
I wasn't going to let him put the brakes on this production. What about a big parade?
The Onion Ring documentary is not something worth years of your life.
I'm so excited he's running away.
Maybe I got too close to their lives.
Can I give you a hug?
I love you, man.
You can't keep pushing somebody like that. You're one of this now.
That was terrifying.
Kiss just loved your onion rings.
You guys are going to the NFL. I might have pushed him too far.
That's another clip from the trailer for the Ringmaster new documentary focusing on a filmmaker's journey to make a Minnesota man's onion rings world famous. Well, welcome back to the show. I'm talking to the people behind the movie, filmmaker Zachary and directors Molly and Dave. Okay, so you're in the middle of the movie. Did Larry want to be, Zachary, I'll throw this to you. Did Larry want to be involved at all initially?
Well, he told me yes. But there's something called Minnesota Nice, which I think might play a factor in that. And it's really up for the audience to decide. I believe that he always wanted to be involved, but the crew might think differently. And, it's really up for the audience's interpretation. But it was always a labor of love for me. And I wanted to pay homage to this family that was so beloved throughout the Midwest and beyond.
Dave, we saw in that clip right there, and I teased it, Kiss gets involved with the onion rings. Right. How did that happen?
I have no, I mean, it was the most random thing ever. One day Zach called me and said that Kiss was going to taste the onion rings, or he had set up something with Kiss. There's, in the documentary, there's another character that enters the scene who's sort of a big player in the South Dakota area, and had access to Kiss. And so, yeah, it was random. And I wasn't even really part of the production at that point. I was sort of just Zach's friend and friend of the crew. And yeah, that was another moment where I was like, get everything with Kiss, but also make sure Zach's on record. So we have behind the scenes footage.
Oh, okay, well,
with him.
Molly, was Zach, I mean, Zach, probably by this point, you knew that you were being, I mean, you can tell when a camera's facing you. So, Molly, let me ask you, was Zach, because I wanted your perspective on this, was Zach responsive? Was he receptive to shifting the focus to him?
So this definitely is a question for Zach, but to me it seemed like he was willing because he had assembled people that he trusted, that he loved, who love him back. So he was sort of willing, but hopeful that it wouldn't end up being about him. It was just like for safety that we were going to capture everything just for safety. And then of course it was going to be about Larry's onion rings and the end.
Yeah, but it was a struggle, I think, for Zach at first. I don't even think at that point he was aware that, we were kind of shooting as much footage of him as we were of everything else.
Zach, we have about a little over a minute left. I want to give you the last word with two important questions. How is Larry doing now? And where do the onion rings stand now? Can people get them?
Well, in terms of how Larry's doing now, I really don't want to reveal that, but I will say that the film, in addition to it being about onion rings, it also deals with mental health, addiction, and ultimately Alzheimer's disease, which plays a role in the film. And when the film comes out next week on digital on demand, 1 week from today, actually, I just want your whole audience to know that every purchase is going to benefit Alzheimer's research, which plays an important role in the film. And in terms of where you can get the onion rings, I believe the film plants a seed for an opportunity that might still come for the Lang family, because I believe this family who served for 6 decades in the Midwest, I mean, these onion rings have been around since 1949. I believe they still deserve a happy ending.
You know how to tease something, Zach. I'll give you that. Look at that. Zach's like, okay, I'm not going to answer that, but watch a movie. And I'm not going to. You are the master, man. I love it. Zach, Molly, and Dave, thank you. I want everybody to see this for so many reasons. I appreciate your time. The Ringmaster, as Zach said, is available to stream starting next week, October 6th. And for more information, go to theringmaster.com.